yesterday evening when this all happened, and really just a couple of hours of daylight that we've had this morning to really see the entire scope of everything. We do want to get to a phone call with Ladd Sanger, who's a Dallas-based attorney and a pilot himself. After seeing this video, Ladd, and I know there are so many videos of this, unfortunately, this devastating crash, what was the first thing that came to mind as someone who flies planes?
Since I have been looking at these videos and pictures since last night when the event occurred, a few things stand out. Number one, it appears that the left engine is still laying by the runway. That is very interesting because the MD-11 is a newer, larger variant of the DC-10, which you may recall, American Airlines Flight 191 in Chicago. The left engine fell off the airplane and the airplane crashed. So the fact that you have what appears to be an engine problem that resulted in the engine core falling off of the aircraft and laying on the side of the runway is very interesting. That would mean that there is approximately a 2-inch pipe of fuel with approximately 30 psi of fuel that has come loose and being sprayed into the airflow, which is probably the explanation for why you see that huge flame coming off of the left side of the aircraft in the video. Once you have that big flame, then you have the tail-mounted engine, which it appears, based on the video, there was some white smoke seen in the video, so that could the foreign object damage could have compromised a second engine, making this 3-engine airplane totally unflyable. In addition to the extreme heat from that in-flight fire and huge fireball impacting the aircraft's control surfaces.
Ladd, I think, a lot of us know how to drive our cars. We know the basic things that go wrong mechanically for smaller vehicles. But with a plane, when you talk about an engine potentially coming off of a plane, what sort of safety checks go into preparing for this, and how does something like that end up happening with these machines that, take so much time and effort and energy to build and to keep safe?
Engines on aircraft are made to be removed relatively easily for maintenance and replacement, because you don't do heavy maintenance of an engine on the airframe. You remove it, and it goes into a factory, a facility for overhaul. There are bolts and pins that hold it together, and the engines are designed to shear off with loads and depart the aircraft. The way that this engine left the aircraft is indicative of a huge problem, because once the engine left the aircraft, the fuel lines are supposed to be designed so that they don't continue to spray fuel.
They cut off,
but
yeah.
this engine appears like it was ripped off, and then it compromised the entire structure of that left wing. The airplane should be flyable with 2 engines. We know from the Chicago accident that the crew was unable to fly that aircraft, and it rolled over and crashed. In this case, there is such an intense fire, and then it appears that foreign object damage caused a second engine to be compromised, rendering this airplane totally unflyable. The closest other accident that this reminds me of is the Air France Concorde case, which I worked on years ago, and that was where a tire blew out because it ran over a titanium strip and caused the fuel tank to be compromised, and then that fuel flew into the hot exhaust from the engine, and the side of the aircraft was engulfed in a fire. Similar things here. Such a tragic accident that nothing this crew could have done once that airplane initiated takeoff roll. Based on the videos, the aircraft got to the speed called V1 speed, which is takeoff decision speed, meaning that once there's an abnormal event at that point, you continue the takeoff and try to deal with it in the air. That's what the pilots are trained. And once they got past that speed, this aircraft was not flyable.
Because I had heard too that it might have gotten up to about 175 feet in the air. It looked like going through the runway, though, it was already on fire. So what you're saying is maybe they did not know about it, or they were just trying to deal with it once they took off.
So pilots are taught that your first speed is your V1, and if you get to V1, absent the airplane being unflyable, which it's not like there was any indication on the video that the airplane had been yawing or something, you would even take an engine fire in the air. It has fire extinguishing systems, and declare an emergency and come back and land because high-speed aborts are so dangerous with runway overruns, which in aircraft, especially business jets, is one of the leading causes of accidents, is a late abort and then a subsequent runway overrun. Just think about, what this airplane would do if it ran off the end of the runway. Now, the result here is obviously horrifically tragic, just like that would have been. Right. But the pilot's training is to continue to try and fly the airplane after V1. And remember how long this airplane is and where the pilots are located. Their ability to see what was going on that airplane is back there on the wing is limited, especially at a high workload time when they're focused on their instruments inside the airplane and looking out the front of the airplane. And it happened so quickly. I don't think that there was adequate time for the flight crew to perceive and react to the enormous problem that had happened to them.
Ladd, when it comes to going forward, the questions that will be asked by investigators and by our community, does the fact that it was a cargo plane change any of those? And what are some of the questions that come to top of mind for you?
No, cargo plane makes no difference. Whether this is a passenger plane or a cargo plane, a business jet or an airliner, the same analysis is going to be true for all jet pilots. Accelerate the aircraft to V1, absent any loss of control or inability to continue the flight. Takeoff is going to continue, get to VR, which is a few knots later, faster, rotate the aircraft, and then take any emergency in the air. That would be a standard briefing that the flight crew would have done before this flight, and from what I can see, they followed their briefing. So it would have been really difficult. There were indications, right? When the engine falls off the airplane, there's going to be all kinds of indications and warnings. But studies have shown that it takes 2 to 4 seconds to perceive or react, and that's why there's all this training and the simulators that the pilots are forced to go through. You have to go through engine failure at V1, and the training is, take the airplane in the air and deal with it in the air. At or after V1, take it in the air. And from what we can see here, that's what this flight crew did.
Yeah, and only a few seconds when you're talking, they only had a few seconds before the whole thing was up in flames. Yeah. So, Ladd, thank you